Good day everyone, so hope you're all doing really well. In today's video we're going to compare Genshin Impact, Honkai Star Rail, Honkai Impact 3rd, Duet Night Abyss and Wuthering Waves from a cosmetic perspective, because I want to answer the question, what is value to you as someone playing all of these games? And one of the things that I thought would be interesting is to juxtapose a game that came out in 2013, Lightning Returns as you can see in the background, against these modern games, because I want to drive home a couple of points. For those of you that are interested, Lightning Returns, you get a bunch of garments, they've got combat abilities, combat animations, you can customize the garments. Now look, by modern standards it's nothing special, but at least what you got in the past was a character that you really liked, that you went on an incredible journey and story with, and you could just play with her in multiple different ways with multiple different outfits. It was a cohesive gacha experience. But what do you get with more modern games like Genshin? Well, as I have a love for pink-haired waifus, I'm here in 2025 with Kokomi that I've been playing with for 4 years, and what you've seen in terms of her animations is just that. Nothing has changed, and you would have hoped that something like Miliastra Wonderland could have given you skins and some new abilities and combat modifiers and all of the good stuff, but no. What you see here in the background is a generic skin that does not apply to any of your characters that costs about $200 for you to try and get if you want to get this skin, and obviously some of like the, what do you call it, ability to like swap and change colors. And it's just crazy because, well, you can't just buy the skin. Well, you can, but now you need to buy the one currency, and the one currency converts to the other currency, and it's just it's deliberately a confusing mess. So for 200 or whatever dollars, you don't even know what the price is up front. You can compare this to Lightning Returns that I bought for $20 and a $10 DLC with all of those skins, and it's just like, where have we lost the plot? Because where have we kind of given up on this fantasy that you have a favorite character and you want to do a lot of things with your favorite character, and the correct way to monetize would be to give you, at a very cheap and very reasonable price, extensions or like additions to the character that can make the gameplay fun. Because I look at Miliastra Wonderland and the disconnect between this and Genshin is just like, well, why do I have two games at once? That is the core problem. You see, I look at Kokomi. She is really a beautiful and amazing character, and if I didn't use mods, I wouldn't have a skin for this character. But even with mods, what you can fundamentally do, the same animations for all these years, nothing has changed. And this is the thing that just boggles my mind. Why can't we get new voiceovers? Why can't we get additional story? Why can't we get some new animated effects, idols, etc., etc.? And that to me is the problem with a lot of these modern games. You don't get the value. The Way himself stood up to a forum of investors and said, I want to sell you the vision of you having a waifu and then you could live out your dream with this character. And I'm like, yeah, you kind of sold out on your own dream, The Way, because with the current state of how things are, we just don't have it. And if I now just jump into a bit of another game called Honkai Star Rail, that's also the other problem we see. You get a new character upcoming, Hi3. She's got a new weapon skin, which obviously, you know, it's just cosmetic, but she has a weapon skin for, I don't know, 1, 2, 3, a measly $300. Oh no, but by the way, it's not $300 because the jades can be used for pulling and you get some other... No. The thing is, if it were that simple, just unbundle the bow and make it a separate skin that you can buy in the store. This is the one thing that nobody talks about online. The fact that you can just unbundle stuff, and Honkai Star Rail doesn't do it because they want the cash grab. They want something that is incredibly cheap. The whole reason they put the bow there is because they want you to get the shiny thing. They normalized spending in their game, which is just absolutely crazy. But I'm not surprised, because if I go to the sister game, Honkai Impact 3rd, this was always normalized. But unlike Honkai Star Rail and Genshin, at least in the older title, Genshin's precursor, you could get the skin just by playing the game. You don't need to top up here. So unlike Miliastra Wonderland and Honkai Star Rail, you don't need to top up. You can, optionally, if you want to. If you're like me and you don't have the crystals, you can do it and you can play the Pyramid Gacha. But if I just play the game and farm the crystals normally, it is still possible for me to get the skin. Yes, as a F2P, it's going to come at the cost of progression, of you getting other characters, but that is the choice you make for not paying, which in a certain sense is reasonable. But do I still think that a skin like this, theoretically costing potentially over $120, is reasonable if you wanted to purchase it? Yeah, I don't think so. I personally think that making a skin like this available straight for a purchase at $10 or $15, that's more than enough. That's genuinely, for a modern time, that's more than enough just for a couple of cosmetics. But don't worry, Wuthering Waves themselves aren't much better. Yes, I do play Wuthering Waves, and I've got the Carlotta skin. And look, there are a lot of things Wuthering Waves has done better than Genshin, better than Honkai Star Rail. But one thing where they absolutely fumbled on is the skins, because the skins are also overpriced. They also give you very minimal in terms of animation changes and stuff. And one of my favorite characters, Carlotta, she just looks like a little bit of a beach bum. Now look, in a certain sense, as a male, I'll be honest, I can't complain. But what I am going to complain about is, if I compare this once again to Lightning Returns, and you saw there in Lightning Returns, you also got the skimpy outfits. The fact that you have to potentially pay $20, I can't remember, $20, $30 for a skin like this versus a game that just gave you hundreds of skins, because that game was a game out of passion and this is a game that's made to monetize. It's just the contrast between the two is really, really crazy to me. And I also think that, you know, from an effort perspective, if you're going to give a $20 or $30 skin, change everything: voice lines, animations, intros to the gacha, sigils, you name it, go ham. Make it feel like you're truly living this fantasy with your favorite character, because if you don't do it, people will look at it, they'll understand the game that's being played, you know, it's a game of fan service. And the question then becomes, well, if there is fan service, why can't I just download a special mod, skin mod? This applies to Genshin, Honkai Star Rail, all of them. And why can't I just load up the skin that I want with a skin mod? If I've got a reasonably powerful PC, then there should be very, very little gameplay impact. And that's actually what I've done, funnily enough. So if you look here in the background, here is a skin of Frolova with Renova's skin on, just doing a beautiful dance. And this to me is better than anything that Wuthering Waves has put out. It's better than anything that Genshin's put out. Yes, the mod itself is not like super high quality in terms of the fidelity and the collisions and all of that, but at least there's a fantasy, and I get that fantasy. Alright, let's talk about the last gacha on today's list, and that is Duet Night Abyss. Look, I'm in a Christmas outfit with a massive katana. I mean, that is just absolutely hilarious. And this entire set just cost me $2, which is really, really crazy. I mean, compared to a $300 weapon skin, yeah, I mean, Hoyo, come on, you could do better. Oh yeah, that's my weapon skin, an absolutely fun lightsaber. So I don't know if the copyright is there or not, but hey, it's not my worry. I'm just gonna have fun. I'm just gonna have fun goofing around, and that's the thing. I think when you get a gacha game that is made for cosmetics, discarding the quality and all of these sorts of things, at least we can now see how much Genshin is doing us in. Because whilst I showed you Lightning Returns earlier in the video, something that's more modern is actually perhaps a better comparison. And this is what you can see: a very, very nice color palettes that you can apply to a lot of the different skins. It's a shame that they cost a certain material to kind of change, but whatever. At least I can save the plan. You know, we've had skin loadouts before we've had artifact loadouts in Genshin, which is, yeah, that is quite kind of something. But in any case, so this is the cool thing. Duet Night Abyss, they've done cosmetics, I think, right. I think the quality of some of the cosmetics is not there, but at least this is a step in the right direction, because this is what the market needs. The market needs some sort of anchor point to tell you what reasonableness is, because as much as I'm talking about 2013 and whatever earlier, a lot of you might say, but inflation, goods rise, you know, you're expected to pay more. I get that. Well, actually, I think it's a crap argument, but I get that. Things are supposed to, in air quotes, cost more today. And I think that's the problem. What a lot of the gacha companies have realized is, because they've anchored their store prices at, let's say, $100 for a certain amount, they need you to spend more because they can't raise those store prices. In other words, the relative value of goods, the inflation that's supposed to be baked into that, into the gacha stores, the gacha companies can't take advantage of it. It'll just like kill their game. So what they have to do is make you spend more and more, or alternatively make you spend more but you get a lot less out of it. That is the way gacha companies do inflation. And I think the problem is that they kind of abuse this process, and then you get into a situation where you think, oh, it is normal to pay $100 or $200 a skin. And I know this might sound crazy to people listening, but a lot of people genuinely are anchored by the price the company set. So this is why I like Duet Night Abyss, because we almost have a bit of a new anchor point. You know, you've got now two lines on the graph. If I put the graph of how much you spend and the value you get, at least this is a new point. This is something new that we can consider. And to me, the concept of, hey, here is a 2,930% bonus pack, which is it sounds like a scam, but at least, you know, what I see here is, okay, if I want to have a bit of a good time, I don't want to invest too much, but just, you know, do it for the giggles and for this video, I can buy a $3 skin pack, and I can run around in a Christmas outfit that I can color and a lightsaber, and it's good fun. You can see here as well, I get a fancy car, I get all sorts of cool things. I'm not going to go through all of Duet Night's cosmetics. Some of them are good, some of them are meh, whatever, but at least this shows you that your imagination when it comes to a game like Genshin Impact really is just limited by the developer's greed. And I'm not kidding. Why can't we have all of this for a character like Kokomi? Or for many other characters? You could have generic cosmetics, you could have specific cosmetics, and yet the gacha companies don't want to do it. And I'm so glad Duet Night Abyss has come out, and they've kind of said, listen, we're changing up the formula. We want to show you how to do it more properly. Like I said, some of the quality here isn't where I would like it to be, but I assume, you know, in about 6 months' time, we'll have a bit of a different discussion. And that's really what I wanted to do in today's video, just show you and juxtapose all of these gacha games to make you think, what does value mean to you? Because ultimately for me, to start wrapping up the video, value is what can I do with my favorite character and have a great time. You know, I'm spending time every day playing a game, I'm living a fantasy, so it needs to be reasonably priced and it needs to be something that I can look back and say, this was worth it. And for me, Genshin Impact and a lot of these gacha games have fumbled the ball on it, because it can be done so much better, as the examples have shown in this video. Alright guys, let me know what you think. Thank you so much for watching. Cheers.